It's time for the Las Vegas Sportsline, brought to you by CG Technology Sportsbook.
Money won is twice as sweet as money earned.
Presented by WagerTalk.com.
Here we go. It is the Thursday edition of the Las Vegas Sportsline. Happy to have you with us. It is a beautiful day after yesterday's bleak outlook or bleak weather. The outlook for today was bright and sunny and warm, and it is all of that. Perfect day here in Las Vegas. I'm Dave Koch, and Ralph Michaels is here. Jared Justice is producing this show, and it is our CG Thursday. Jason Semble's not going to be able to make it today. Pinch hitting from the CG roster will be Will Bernanke, the Moneyline guy, and you can follow him that way on Twitter, at the Moneyline guy. Before we get to him, let's talk about some of the things that took place last night. And one of them was, Teddy and myself talked about this yesterday on the show, Ralph, was that if ever there was a game that kind of screamed correlated parlay, it was the Golden Knights and Flames. Because if you thought the Golden Knights were going to win, it's probably going to be low scoring. And if you thought the Flames were going to win, it's probably going to be high scoring. And it worked out Golden Knights in under. The Stone Age now a perfect 5-0 for the Golden Knights since they picked up Mark Stone. And an important win, not for the standings so much as for the fact that they beat a team they might have to face in the playoffs and beat a winning team, which is something the Knights haven't had great success doing this season.
Well, all of a sudden we were talking about how close Arizona was, and now we're 10 points clear.
Yep.
So, now all of a sudden you set your sights to San Jose. You're 7 points behind, but the way it's going, at least that fourth team behind you is clear. You're playing with confidence, and we know what this team can do when they play with confidence. And when Fleury's playing to the level he's at, they can beat anyone in hockey.
Yeah, in fact, I think David Riddick, who had a terrible game on Tuesday, or I should say on Monday, I guess it was, he bounced back with a very strong performance yesterday and kept Calgary in the game. Fleury was fantastic. He's given up one goal in 3 games. I mean, the guy's just playing, just on fire right now. But the nice thing, to me, more important than trying to catch San Jose in the standings is the fact that they're now so far clear in the wild card, they don't have to hesitate at all to put Malcolm Subban in for plenty of games down the stretch. You want to keep Fleury nice and fresh for the Stanley Cup playoffs, and now they're in a position where they don't have to go out and get 2 points every game. That's not to diminish what Subban's done. He's played good hockey, but you want your main guy rested going into the playoffs.
Yeah, well, you want to let Fleury play as much as he wants to play, but absolutely, when you have those couple games and couple nights. And you know what? I think Subban needs some confidence on the road. At home, he has a very good record. At road, I think he's 1-6 or something like that, where it's a negative record. So it'd be nice to put him on the road against a team that you expect to beat and give him some confidence in case you need him down the stretch.
I think so. And he's got to be ready. You never know. Anything can happen in the playoffs, and we sure hope it doesn't. But these things do happen. It's a rough sport. And you want Malcolm Subban in good form heading into the playoffs just in case. The Lakers are not in good form, and they now look like they've just...
Turn out the lights.
Yeah, I think they've kind of quit at this point. And I'm not advocating just auto-fading them, but you can make a case that if you just play against... Well, hell, if you played against the Lakers every game this year, you won a Mercedes. And a real high-end one at that. So, I mean, they're a nightmare right now. And I don't think they care about any of these remaining games.
And this was a game LeBron was excited about. Passing Jordan was a huge deal. I mean, stopping the game and making the announcements and showing that if you're embarrassed with that type of situation, they have a thought for you next year. When LeBron's with the Lakers and he passes Kobe, they probably hope it's on the road.
I wouldn't be surprised if it is. Somebody was talking
tonight. Let's break his record on the road in Cleveland or something.
Somebody was talking about that last night, and they were kind of working out the schedule with the possibility that if he's doing so many points per game or something like that, when the Cleveland game comes up, that's the perfect place for him to go out.
Break it at Miami or at Cleveland and get some cheers instead of getting booed.
But if it's at Staples, is Kobe there to applaud him? You could put a prop up on that.
Yeah, it'll be well. We have better things to talk about, but interesting nonetheless.
That'd be fun. Props are a lot of fun. Let's talk a little college basketball because...
Crazy night.
A late comeback, and I mean an amazing finish by Seton Hall. Very well might have propelled the Pirates into the tournament. What was it, 18-0?
18-0.
18-0 at the end of the game against Marquette. That is a huge victory for Seton Hall.
I think it's a concern for Marquette. Now 3 straight losses. You're on the road at a team you were dominating. You finish dropping your last 10 shots.
Are they starting to get into that same? We saw this last year with Oklahoma, where Trae Young was such a dominant piece of the Sooners' puzzle that at times the rest of the team was just standing around and watching him and waiting for him to do whatever he was going to do. Marquette's got a great player. He's one of the Player of the Year candidates. And you're almost seeing some of the similar stuff that we saw out of Oklahoma last year, where they're just relying on one guy to do too much right now.
Yeah, I mean, Marcus Howard is special.
He's
but
a great player.
He is Trae Young. He's a 6-foot point guard who controls the tempo, comes down and shoots often, and doesn't get his other players involved. Well, it came back to burn him last night. So, I have a future on Marquette that I made preseason. I mean, this was just one of my flyers. Marquette and Indiana were my 2 first props. One okay, one not bad. But I am concerned that Villanova loss now has carried over. Losing to Creighton at home is bad. Blowing that lead to Seton Hall is this. We'll see if they rebound against Georgetown. But they were playing with pressure from being that team that wasn't expected to beat Villanova in the Big East. Had the lead, and now trailing. And
they'll be facing a Georgetown team that got humiliated last night at DePaul. So that might not be a great spot for them either. What a costly loss for Florida. They needed this win. I know they'd already beaten LSU in overtime on the road, but this was a very big loss for the Gators last night because they lost to Georgia over the weekend. You can't lose to Georgia and then lose this game on top of that, and they let it get away. It was a back-and-forth battle, but I watched a good portion of this game. I didn't have anything on it, and I'm glad I didn't because I was leaning to Florida in the game and would have lost it. They gave it away. They don't know how to close. Their offense bogs down when it needs to make a basket. It's a nice win for LSU, but this game was way more important. Despite the revenge factor, this game was way more important to Florida. They didn't get it done. I don't know if they're going to get in.
You were also playing an LSU team that had pressure to win the SEC to keep tied with Tennessee. Yeah, I agree with you. If one loss is going to cost you getting in, it's probably the Georgia loss because losing to LSU by 1. But splitting with
on
LSU. That and blowing the lead. I think it does them in.
Creighton, they came back and they got an overtime when they tied. I think the Friars tied it late.
They blew the lead. And then came back. Yeah.
And Creighton ends up getting the win, and for some people, the cover as well as they won by 6 in overtime. I think the line was 6 or 5.5. On that game. That's a big win for the Blue Jays, who are not dead yet as far as the NCAA tournament's concerned.
Yeah, I've gone back and forth on them. They have enough to get it done. They're a team that needed to win at home. I mean, if you lose at home to Providence, that's going to put you on the opposite side of the bubble. But winning that and coming back was something that they felt the coach this morning in the paper thought it would help them move forward and really boost them into the tournament.
And a team, I just don't like this team. I think they fattened up early against a bunch of stiffs. They've had a few good games here and there, but NC State, last time I checked, was still a 10 seed. I don't even think they belong in the tournament, to be honest with you. If you look at their strength of schedule, to me, they have not done enough to get to the NCAA tournament. And they hurt themselves last night with a loss to Georgia Tech as a big favorite in the game. That's a terrible loss for NC State. I think I'm on an island on this one, but I can almost tell you now that on Selection Sunday, when we come in and talk about it on Monday, I'm going to point to somebody and say they got snubbed because they're not in and NC State is. I don't think NC State's a quality team.
Well, Ken Pom has them at 40.
No.
So
they should be borderline at best.
Yeah, and you know what? If you don't beat Boston College on the road, then many more people are going to be saying exactly what you said. 13-1 was their start. 12-1 in non-conference play against a very weak schedule. Yeah,
I think it actually was the worst schedule of any Power 5 team in the country.
Well, they did beat Auburn. They did beat Penn State, but Penn State was atrocious back then, and now playing as good as anyone. Auburn is their only true win.
Yeah. And that's not the greatest
win.
That was one good game. Yeah, and it's an okay win
against a 4th-tier SEC team.
Yeah, Auburn's not. It's turned out not to be as good as people thought they would be. Let's go to tonight's action, and we'll do that with our Thursday MJ Christensen Diamonds 4 at 4.
1, 2. 3 into the 4.
Put them fours up. Put the fours up, I said. Do it right now.
Tonight's action is just around the bend, and the guys want to get your night off to a great start.
4.
It's the Las Vegas Sportsline's 4 at 4.
Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4. Unbelievable.
Lots of big games to look at. We'll look at this one in Connecticut as the Huskies play host to Temple, and it is a big game for Temple, a team that's on the bubble right now. They could really use a road win. The Huskies off a game that nobody wanted to win. The South Florida game on Sunday was just painfully ugly. Connecticut's offense is just terrible. Temple should be able to go in and win this basketball game. Here's the problem. Temple doesn't always deliver when you think they're going to. This has been a problem for Fran Dunphy's team for like 3 years running now, where they've just not gotten wins in games that are critical to them. And I would worry about that tonight with the Owls.
Well, you're only shooting 40% on the road for the year, so that's a bad number. And something to be careful of. I mean, UConn played 3 or 4 games without Gilbert and Adams.
Right.
Okay. Gilbert came back 3 games ago. They covered the first 2 games. Then they went outright, breaking a 7-game losing streak against UCF. Adams has been practicing pregame, and they have not made an announcement when he's going to play. At some point, with both of those players back, Connecticut will win some games.
Yeah.
Be it Temple or be it East Carolina or be it in the tournament. Maybe they're holding him back until they get to the tournament. If he surprisingly comes back, you're going to find some value on these Huskies.
And Hurley's a good tournament coach, by the way. He's proven that in his days at URI. Iowa and Wisconsin tonight. This is the back end of the suspension for McCaffrey, so he will not be with the Hawkeyes.
And a bad loss in the first game.
That wasn't very good. Although Rutgers has shown that they're capable of playing some pretty good basketball, the bottom part of the Big Ten has actually been improving down the stretch. Wisconsin, I can't trust them laying big points, and the number's fairly substantial here. So I'm not going to play the game. I really don't know what to do with this. I do know this: if it comes down to the end, and it's a battle, Hack-a-Hap goes into motion. The guy can't make a free throw, and that could be impactful in this basketball game. I think Iowa wants to make a better effort than they showed against Rutgers too, even without McCaffrey.
I completely agree. Iowa's offense, though, has been inept the last 5 games. They've shot 41% the last 5 games. But how about this? I mean, Ethan Happ is Shaquille O'Neal shooting free throws, but he is only the 5th player with 2,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, 400 assists.
Oh, he's
the other 4,
tremendous player.
Oscar Robertson,
wow,
Larry Bird, Danny Ferry, Stacey Augmon.
Pretty good group.
Very good group.
But they were all better at the foul line. By a lot.
Well, there's a lot of people. Oh. There's not many people not better than them.
Blue Jackets and Penguins on the ice tonight. This is a big game in the NHL, as these are 2 of the teams vying for the last 2 playoff spots, the wild card spots in the Eastern Conference. It looks like, to me, the Penguins are going to get the public money in this game. I don't know. The Blue Jackets are a funny team because first of all, they're better on the road than they are at home. I can't explain that, but they just are.
18-11.
Yeah.
Their last 29 games as an away dog with an average line of plus 124. If you're 18-11 at plus 124, you're making some money.
Yeah, and that to me is this. I just don't know what to do with the game. I think the Penguins find a way to win it because they're the Penguins, and they've got these veterans who still know how to get it done at crunch time, and they have won a couple of games in a row, which is of some significance. And Columbus should be better than they are. And I'm not pinning the blame on Tortorella because I think he's done a good coaching job. This team just finds a way not to win hockey games, and I suspect it could be the case again tonight. This is a really big game, though, and I think it's the national TV game on NBC, and I'm going to watch this one.
Well, we talk about the Stone Age, and getting a new player in doesn't automatically mean you're going to make a run. Columbus, we didn't know if they were going to be sellers or buyers. We had a couple players with free agents that they held on to. They acquired 4 players, but they're only 2 and 3. The problem I have is you want to talk about series domination.
Oh, boy.
Pittsburgh has won 7 straight, and they're 11-1 the last 12 against Columbus. I think whoever wins this game, they're playing a home-and-home here on Saturday. I think whoever wins this game, the other team wins on Saturday.
And that's the case that I'm rooting for Columbus. because that way I get the Penguins as a road dog over the weekend, and Columbus doesn't play as well at home. And we'll look at the Pacers and Bucks. We're going to save the other NBA TNT matchup for later on in the show, in the marquee matchup. Pacers and Bucks, though, here's the Bucks coming off a bad game